The night before my brother's wedding, I went to grab his suit from the bridal suite. I heard voices inside, laughter, then whispers. Her voice, "I'll marry him, but only until I'm stable. Then I'm gone." Another voice, not my brother's. I stayed quiet, pulled out my phone, and hit record. The next morning, my brother was at the altar, smiling, waiting. I walked up slowly, tapped his shoulder. He turned around. I pressed play. Then I looked up and saw. I don't believe in fate, but I do believe in timing. And that night, timing walked me straight into something I never wanted to know. It was the night before my brother Daniel's wedding. He was marrying Leah, the golden girl, the one who could walk into any room and make it feel smaller just by smiling. She was smart, poised, terrifyingly good at saying the right things. Honestly, I never fully trusted her. But Daniel loved her. That was enough for me. Or at least it had been. The day had been chaos. Between last-minute tux adjustments, misplaced bridesmaid shoes, and a groomsman forgetting his flight time, I was running around like a glorified assistant. Daniel, meanwhile, floated on some wedding cloud, grinning, hugging everyone, thanking me again and again. He kept saying he felt like the luckiest man in the world. It was around 11:40 p.m. when my phone buzzed. A text from the hotel concierge. "Mr. Dawson, the bridal suite left a garment bag with your brother's name at the front desk. Want us to send it up?" I replied no. I figured I'd just grab it and drop it in Daniel's room. Simple. Except when I got there, the front desk agent squinted and said, "Actually, I think it was taken back to the bridal suite again. Something about a missing button." I sighed and made my way up. Suite 814. The bridal suite. I knew Leah and her bridesmaids had checked in there earlier to prep for the morning. Hair tools, robes, champagne flutes, standard stuff. But at nearly midnight, I assumed everyone had moved on or passed out by now. The hallway was quiet, carpeted, dimly lit. I knocked once, waited. No answer. I was about to knock again when I heard something through the door. Voices. A woman's laugh. Then murmurs. Close. Intimate. I paused. Leah's voice came through, light and casual, but laced with something else. "I'll marry him, but only until I'm stable. Then I'm gone." I didn't move. I don't even remember breathing. The air in my lungs felt like it froze solid. Then came another voice, deeper. A man's voice. Not Daniel's. "You sure about this? It's tomorrow." "That's the point," she whispered. "Once I'm his wife, he can't pull anything. Not until I've set everything up." The rest was quieter. Muffled kisses. The sound of a zipper. I didn't need to know more. My body moved before my brain did. I pulled out my phone. Hit record. I didn't think. I just pressed it against the door, barely open half an inch. I captured another few lines. Not enough to cover everything, but enough. Her voice again. "You've got to go. If anyone sees you, it's done." "Relax," he said. "By this time tomorrow, he'll be your problem, not mine." My hand was shaking. I pocketed the phone. Backed up. Quiet steps. I didn't dare breathe until I was back by the elevator. I didn't look back. I took the stairs instead of waiting for the elevator. 10 floors down. My legs barely felt real. In the lobby, the suit bag was hanging neatly on a rack behind the concierge. I grabbed it without a word. When I reached Daniel's room, I almost knocked. Almost handed it over like nothing happened. But I stopped myself. He was inside, probably laying out his shoes, reading over his vows, smiling like a fool. I turned and walked to my own room. I didn't sleep. I woke up before sunrise. Or more accurately, I gave up on sleep entirely. The same sentence kept circling in my head, like a mosquito that wouldn't die. "I'll marry him, but only until I'm stable." That line had taken on a life of its own. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a confession. A plan. Cold, rehearsed, deliberate. And now it was mine to hold. The hotel room was still dark, the curtains drawn. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone. I'd replayed the recording 5, maybe 6 times during the night. Part of me hoped I'd hallucinated the whole thing. But no. Her voice was unmistakable. The easy, controlled rhythm. Like she'd been saying this in her head for weeks. At 6:10 a.m., I heard a knock on my door. "Hey man, you up?" It was Daniel. I swallowed the dry panic and forced my voice to work. "Yeah." He stepped in with 2 coffees, both Vinny. Always extra cream for me. He handed it over and dropped onto the small couch in the corner like he had no idea his life was about to collapse. "I can't believe it's actually happening," he said, smiling. "You believe it?" I looked at him. Messy hair, stubble he missed while shaving, excitement in his voice like a kid on Christmas. "Feels real," I said. It was all I could manage. I barely slept. I kept dreaming about Leah tripping in her heels or my voice cracking when I say the vows. He laughed into his cup. I watched him for a long moment, debating. Right now? Just tell him. Just say it. Show him the recording. Save him. But then he looked up again and said, "You've always looked out for me. All my life. You kept me out of fights. covered for me with mom and dad. Talked me out of that stupid tattoo. I don't say it much, but I mean it. I'm lucky to have you here. Today especially. That was the knife. That moment. I didn't say anything. I didn't show him the recording. I nodded. You ready to get dressed? Let's do it. The hours between sunrise and ceremony blurred into one long reel of noise and movement. Steamers hissing, people knocking, groomsmen joking, the photographer snapping candids in every corner. I floated through all of it, answering questions I didn't hear, holding things I didn't register. At one point, the planner came into the room asking if the rings were still secure. I checked my inside jacket pocket. Still there. Still safe. Great, she said. Bride's running a little behind, but she's just finishing makeup. We're back on schedule. Of course she was. She was always just finishing something. My mind kept flashing to the night before, to the tone of her voice, to the way the man said, by this time tomorrow. Who was he? Someone from her past? Her present? Someone she had no intention of cutting off even after the vows. I couldn't confront her. It wasn't my place. But it wasn't hers either. Not anymore. Right before the ceremony, the best man gave his speech rehearsal. Daniel flubbed his lines and laughed it off. Everyone clapped. Leah's family looked delighted, posing for selfies in front of the floral arch. I stayed near the back, away from the cameras. My hands stayed in my pockets, fingers curled around my phone like it was a grenade I was still deciding whether to throw. Then came the announcement. Everyone take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin. The music started. We took our places at the altar. Daniel stood to my left, his suit pressed and perfect. He wiped his palms on his pants. You got the rings? He whispered. I nodded. Right here. Okay, this is it. He took a deep breath, eyes fixed on the double doors across the hall. And then they opened. Leah stood there in a white silk dress, fitted and smooth, not a wrinkle out of place. Her veil floated around her like mist. She looked radiant. If you didn't know what she'd said just 12 hours ago. She smiled like nothing had happened. Guests stood. Cameras flashed. Music swelled. I looked at Daniel. He didn't look away from her. Not for a second. He looked like a man who believed everything was exactly how it should be. The priest welcomed everyone, then launched into his usual preamble about love and commitment. Then came the words that felt like thunder. If anyone knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now. Silence. The kind of silence that's too clean, too expectant. I don't remember deciding. My body moved on its own. I stepped forward. One step, then another. The priest looked startled, but stopped talking. Everyone turned toward me. Murmurs started. Daniel looked at me in confusion. What's wrong? He whispered. I didn't answer. I reached into my pocket. Leah's smile was faltering now. I took out my phone, held it up, tapped. The audio began to play. Her voice came first. I'll marry him, but only until I'm stable. Then I'm gone. Gasps. One woman put a hand over her mouth. Daniel blinked, slowly, like he wasn't hearing it right. Then the man's voice followed. That's all we need, babe. Just a little longer. The crowd was dead silent. I looked at Leah. She wasn't smiling anymore. I didn't say a word. Then I looked up and saw something in the very back of the room. A man. He was standing by the exit doors, dressed in a dark suit. Clean-shaven. Not clapping. Not surprised. Not moving. And I recognized that voice. I stepped off the altar and began walking toward the back of the room. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. I just knew I had to see him up close. To be sure, the man didn't flinch. He stood perfectly still, his hands folded in front of him like he was waiting for something. He looked ordinary. That was the strangest part. No guilt on his face. No shame. If anything, he looked bored. Like this was something he'd sat through before. As I got closer, he met my eyes. And just for a moment, he smiled. It wasn't smug. It wasn't apologetic. It was subtle, practiced, like a signal only Leah would understand. I stopped 3 feet in front of him. The whole room behind us was buzzing now, low whispers, confusion, a few raised voices. But here, near the door, it was quiet. Who are you? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, friend of the bride. I stared at him, waiting. Business partner, he added with a smirk, like he was daring me to correct him. That voice, it was the one on the recording. I would have bet my life on it. The cadence, the pitch, the fake calm that masked something sharp beneath the surface. You've got 5 seconds to leave, I said, my voice low and even. He tilted his head slightly. Relax. The show's already over. I stepped forward once, and he got the message. He adjusted his jacket and walked calmly toward the exit doors, not looking back. When I turned around, Leah was standing beside Daniel, frozen mid-step. She'd left the altar. She was trying to walk toward me, but people had begun stepping between us, talking to her, asking questions. Daniel hadn't moved. He was still standing in the same spot, staring straight ahead. I crossed back up the aisle slowly. Everyone stepped aside. No one said anything. When I reached him, I handed him my phone. He looked at the screen. Then he looked at me. This you knew? I nodded. Since last night. He took a moment to absorb that. Then he hit play again. Everyone could hear it. Again. Only this time, it didn't shock them. This time, it sank in deeper. Like a stain that wouldn't wash out. When the clip ended, he didn't say anything. He handed the phone back to me and stepped down from the altar. Leah moved toward him, panicked now. Daniel, wait, just let me explain. He held up a hand. Not to touch her. Not to push her away. Just to stop the noise. She froze. I trusted you, he said. His voice didn't shake. It wasn't raised. It was worse than that. It was steady. Like he had passed the point of feeling anything. Leah blinked, stunned. It wasn't what it sounded like. You planned this, he replied. You said it. You were just waiting until you were stable. Was that the word? She opened her mouth, but he didn't give her a chance. I didn't think you were perfect, he continued. But I thought you were honest. At least with me. I thought you loved me, even if you didn't always show it the way I hoped. But now, he looked at the guests, at the priest, at Leah's parents, who looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. Now I don't even know who I was standing next to. He turned to me. I need to get out of here. I nodded and followed him down the aisle, leaving behind the stunned crowd. Outside, the air felt cold, even though it was the middle of June. He sat on the steps in front of the church, elbows resting on his knees, looking at the pavement. For a long time, neither of us said anything. Then he spoke. I kept thinking this was the best thing that had ever happened to me. I sat beside him. You didn't do anything wrong. He laughed once, bitter. Doesn't feel like that matters. I didn't respond. Because he wasn't looking for comfort. He was just saying what he needed to say. After a few more minutes, the church doors opened, and the priest walked out. He looked at both of us, not with judgment, just quiet concern. Daniel stood up and walked over to him. I'm sorry for wasting your time, he said. The priest shook his head. You didn't waste anything, son. You told the truth. That's never wasted. Daniel nodded and walked away. Back inside, I went to collect our things. Leah was gone. No one could say where she went. Her family looked devastated but didn't speak to me. I didn't speak to them either. In the hallway outside the bridal suite, I paused for a second. That was the room where I had heard it all. I could still see the crack in the door, the shadow of her figure pacing, the sound of her laughter turning into those cold, whispered words. I'll marry him, but only until I'm stable. I didn't want to remember her that way. But now, there was no other version of her left in my head. I found Daniel sitting in the hotel lobby, scrolling through his phone. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 hours. But when I sat down next to him, he smiled a little. Thanks for showing me, he said. I almost didn't, I admitted. I was going to let it happen. Let you marry her and find out later. Why didn't you? Because I saw your face this morning, I said. And I realized if I let it happen, I'd never forgive myself. Not even if you did. He nodded. Do you want to talk to anyone? I asked. No, he said. Not today. I think I just want to sleep. We sat there for another minute. Then he stood up. Come on. Let's go home. And just like that, the wedding was over. No big exit. No screaming. No revenge. Just two brothers, walking out of a hotel lobby. Quiet, but not broken. We didn't go back to the house that night. Too many people. Too many calls. Too many questions we didn't feel like answering. Instead, I booked us a quiet hotel across town. Not fancy, just clean and quiet. Somewhere we could breathe. Somewhere no one would think to look. Daniel didn't speak much on the drive. I didn't expect him to. He stared out the window with the same blank look he'd had since the ceremony. The kind of look people wear when the world they built has been taken apart piece by piece, while they were still standing in it. He didn't cry. He didn't rant. He didn't throw anything. That wasn't his style. He internalized everything, packed it neatly inside like it would be dealt with later. But there was something different now. Something settled. Like a final decision had been made. Not a dramatic one. Just quiet. I checked us in. We went up the elevator, dropped our bags, and sat in silence for a while. Around midnight, he spoke. You know the worst part? He said, not looking at me. I glanced over. What? I don't even feel betrayed. Not in the way I thought I would. I feel embarrassed. That I didn't see it. That I thought I could build a life with someone who had an escape plan the whole time. I didn't argue. He wasn't wrong. He leaned back against the headboard, hands behind his head. I keep wondering what would have happened if you hadn't heard her. You would have married someone who didn't love you, I said. Yeah, but I wouldn't have known. And I would have been happy for a while. That's not the same as real happiness, I said. That's just ignorance. He nodded slowly. Still would have felt good. Until it didn't, I replied. There was a long pause. I think she loved the idea of me, he said. Not who I really am. She liked how stable I was. Predictable. Safe. I was her fallback plan. You weren't a plan, I said. You were her anchor. She just never planned to stay tied down. That got a small laugh out of him. The first one all day. He ran a hand through his hair. You know I was going to surprise her with a honeymoon to Florence? I had it all planned. I was going to give her the tickets during the reception. You still have them? He nodded. First class. Hotel with a view of the river. She kept saying she wanted to feel like a movie star. I looked at him. You should still go. He blinked. Alone? Why not? He raised an eyebrow. You wanted to see Florence. Go see Florence, I said. Don't let her take that from you too. He stared at me for a second, then reached into his pocket and pulled out the folded confirmation email. He looked at it like he was trying to decide whether it meant anything anymore. I'll think about it, he said. The next morning, we left early. Avoided the lobby crowd. No one from the wedding had found us, but that didn't mean they weren't looking. Daniel turned off his phone. I kept mine on, but I ignored most of the calls. There were a few texts from friends. Some from Leah's side, too. Curious ones. Accusatory ones. One message from her mother that just said, "You didn't have to humiliate her." I didn't answer. No one said, "We're sorry she did that." No one said, "Thank you for stopping it." I realized people rarely reward you for the truth when it's inconvenient. We had breakfast at a diner we used to go to as kids. Daniel ordered the same thing he always did. 3 eggs, rye toast, no butter, black coffee. I got pancakes. We didn't talk about the wedding. We talked about work. About baseball. About a stupid prank he'd pulled on me in high school that I still hadn't forgiven him for. For the first time since the whole thing started, we sounded like ourselves. That afternoon, we went back to the original hotel. Daniel needed to collect the rest of his things from his room. I told him I'd wait in the car, but he said, "Nah, come with me." The staff at the front desk looked at us cautiously. No one said anything, but the mood had changed. We weren't the happy wedding party anymore. We were the scandal. The suite was untouched. His tux jacket was still laid out on the back of the chair. The tie was draped over the mirror. A bottle of champagne, still unopened, stood by the window. Daniel walked around slowly, taking it in like a crime scene. He picked up a framed photo from the dresser, him and Leah at the engagement party. He stared at it for a moment, then turned it face down. He packed quietly, methodically, like he didn't want to be there longer than necessary. When we were almost done, someone knocked on the door. He looked at me. I opened it. Leah. She stood in the hallway, still in the white silk robe from that morning, her makeup washed off, her face pale and raw. Her eyes met mine first, then flicked over my shoulder. "Daniel," she said quietly. He didn't say anything. "I just want to talk." "You already did," he said. "Last night." "That's not who I am," she said quickly, stepping inside. He didn't stop her. He didn't look at her either. I was scared. I didn't know if I could really handle it. I said stupid things, but I didn't mean them. Daniel finally turned to her. "I know what you meant," he said. "That's why I left." "I wasn't going to do it," she insisted. "It was just venting. I didn't mean to hurt you." "You planned it," he said, his voice flat. "You rehearsed it. You had someone else in the room with you. That wasn't venting. That was preparation." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Please, can we just talk? Not now. Later, maybe? Just give me a chance." Daniel looked at her for a long, quiet moment. Then he said, "I gave you 100 chances. You used every single one of them to build a lie." She didn't respond. "I'm not angry," he added. "I'm not here to shame you. I don't have anything left to say to you." Her lips trembled. "You're going to be okay," he said. "Just not with me." Then he picked up the suitcase and walked out of the room. I followed him. Leah stayed behind. We didn't look back. Outside, the sun had started to dip. Daniel stood in the parking lot, breathing in the air like it was the first time all day he'd let himself do it. He turned to me. "I think I'll take your advice," he said. "About Florence?" He nodded. "Might be the only thing I still get out of this." I smiled. "You're going to love it." He looked at me. "You saved me." I shook my head. "I didn't save you. I just let you hear the truth." He paused, considering that. "Same thing, really." Then he smiled. A real one, this time. And for the first time since the night before, I believed we were going to be fine. Not because we fixed anything, but because we left before it broke completely. And sometimes, that's the only kind of victory you get. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.